Chapter 2, Section 4, Chemical Reactions and Enzymes. Living things, as you have seen, are made up of chemical compounds, some simple and some complex. But chemistry isn't just what life is made of. Chemistry is also what life does. Everything that happens in an organism, its growth, its interaction with its environment, its reproduction, and even its movement, it's based on chemical reactions. Chemical reactions. A chemical reaction is a process that changes or transforms one set of chemicals into another. An important scientific principle is that mass and energy are conserved during chemical transformation. This is also true for chemical reactions that occur in living organisms. Some chemical reactions occur slowly, such as the combination of iron and oxygen to form an iron oxide called rust, shown in Figure 2-18. Other reactions occur quickly. The elements or molecules that enter into a chemical reaction are known as reactants. The molecules produced by a chemical reaction are known as products. Chemical reactions always involve changes in the chemical bonds that join atoms in molecules. One example of an important chemical reaction that occurs in your body involves carbon dioxide. Your cells constantly produce carbon dioxide as a normal part of their activity. This carbon dioxide is carried to your lungs through the bloodstream and then is eliminated as you exhale. However, carbon dioxide is not very soluble in water. The bloodstream could not possibly dissolve enough carbon dioxide to carry it away from your tissues were it not for a chemical reaction. As it enters the blood, carbon dioxide reacts with water to produce a highly soluble compound called carbonic acid. Carbon dioxide plus H2O yield carbonic acid. This reaction enables the bloodstream to carry carbon dioxide to the lungs. In the lungs, the reaction is reversed. Carbonic acid turns into CO2 and H2O. This reverse reaction produces carbon dioxide gas, which is released as you exhale. Figure 2-18. Chemical reactions always involve changes in chemical bonds. The iron in these chain links gradually combined with oxygen to form rust. Energy in reactions. Energy is released or absorbed whenever chemical bonds form or are broken. Because chemical reactions involve breaking and forming bonds, they involve changes in energy. Energy changes. Some chemical reactions release energy and other reactions absorb energy. Energy changes are one of the most important factors in determining whether a chemical reaction will occur. Chemical reactions that release energy often occur spontaneously. Chemical reactions that absorb energy will not occur without a source of energy. An example of an energy-releasing reaction is hydrogen gas burning, or reacting with oxygen to produce water vapor. The energy is released in the form of heat, and sometimes when hydrogen gas explodes, light and sound occur. The reverse reaction, in which water is changed into hydrogen and oxygen gas, absorbs so much energy that it generally doesn't occur by itself. In fact, the only practicable way to reverse the reaction is to pass an electrical current through water to decompose water into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Thus, in one direction, the reaction produces energy, and in the other direction, the reaction requires energy. In order to stay alive, organisms need to carry out reactions that require energy. Because matter and energy are conserved in chemical reactions, every organism must have a source of energy to carry out chemical reactions. Plants get the energy by trapping and storing the energy from sunlight in energy-rich compounds. Animals get their energy when they consume plants or other animals. Humans release the energy needed to grow tall, to breathe, to think, and even to dream through the chemical reactions that occur when humans metabolize or break down digested food. Activation energy. Even chemical reactions that release energy do not always occur spontaneously. That's a good thing, because if they did, the pages of this book might burst into flames. The cellulose in paper burns in the presence of oxygen and releases heat and light. However, the cellulose will burn only if you light it with a match, which supplies enough energy to get the reaction started. Chemists call the energy that is needed to get a reaction started the activation energy. As figure 2-19 shows, activation energy is a factor in whether the overall chemical reaction releases energy or absorbs energy. Figure 2-19. Chemical reactions that release energy often occur spontaneously. Chemical reactions that absorb energy will occur only with a source of energy. The peak of each graph represents the energy needed for the reaction to go forward. The difference between this required energy and the energy of the reactants is the activation energy. Enzymes. Some chemical reactions that make life possible are too slow or have activation energies that are too high to make them practical for living tissues. These chemical reactions are made possible by a process that would make any chemist proud. Cells make catalysts. A catalyst is a substance that speeds up the rate of a chemical reaction. Catalysts work by lowering a reaction's activation energy. Enzymes are proteins that act as biological catalysts. Enzymes speed up chemical reactions that take place in cells. Like other catalysts, enzymes act by lowering the activation energies, as illustrated by the graph in figure 2-20. Lowering the activation energy has a dramatic effect on how quickly the reaction is completed. How big an effect does it have? Consider the reaction in which carbon dioxide combines with water to produce carbonic acid. Left to itself, this reaction is so slow that carbon dioxide might build up in the body faster than the bloodstream could remove it. Your bloodstream contains an enzyme called carbonic anhydrase that speeds up the reaction by a factor of 10 million. With carbonic anhydrase on the job, the reaction takes place immediately and carbon dioxide is removed from the blood quickly. Enzymes are very specific, generally catalyzing only one chemical reaction. For this reason, part of an enzyme's name is usually derived from the reaction it catalyzes. Carbonic anhydrase gets its name because it catalyzes the reaction that removes water from carbonic acid. Figure 2-20 on page 51. Enzymes speed up chemical reactions that take place in cells. Notice how the addition of an enzyme lowers the activation energy in this reaction. This action speeds up the reaction. Page 52. Enzyme action. How do enzymes do their jobs? For a chemical reaction to take place, the reactants must collide with enough energy so that the existing bonds will be broken and new bonds will be formed. If the reactants do not have enough energy, they will be unchanged after the collision. The enzyme substrate complex. Enzymes provide a site where reactants can be brought together to react. Such a site reduces the energy needed for the reaction. The reactants of an enzyme catalyzed reaction are known as substrates. Figure 2-21 provides an example of an enzyme catalyzed reaction. The enzyme is hexokinase. The substrates are glucose and ATP. During the reaction, a phosphate group is transferred from ATP to the glucose molecule. Recall that each protein has a specific complex shape. The substrates bind to a site on the enzyme called the active site. The active site and the substrates have complementary shapes. The fit is so precise that the active site and substrates are often compared to a lock and key. Figure 2-22 shows a substrate fitting into an active site on an enzyme. The enzyme and the substrate are bound together by intermolecular forces and form an enzyme-substrate complex. They remain bound together until the reaction is done. Once the reaction is over, the products of the reaction are released and the enzyme is free to start the process again. Figure 2-22. This space-filling model shows how a substrate in red binds to an active site on the enzyme in blue. What happens after the substrate binds to the enzyme? Answer this question in your notes now. If you don't know, please ask that question. Regulation of enzyme activity. Because they are catalysts for reactions, enzymes can be affected by any variable that influences a chemical reaction. Enzymes, including those that help digest food, work best in certain pH values. Many enzymes are affected by changes in temperature. Not surprisingly, those enzymes produced by human cells generally work best at temperatures close to 37 degrees Celsius, the normal temperature of the human body. Cells can regulate the activities of enzymes in a variety of ways. Most cells contain proteins that help to turn key enzymes on or off at critical stages in the life of the cell. Enzymes play essential roles in regulating chemical pathways, making materials that cells need, releasing energy, and transferring information.